This all started back in the pre-Blu-ray days when Kino released their first box set of Film Noir films on DVD, and it was this one here, Film Noir, The Dark Side of Hollywood. They have since reissued this on Blu-ray, but this has 5 top-notch film noirs by directors such as Anthony Mann and Bud Bodeker and Fritz Lang, and actors such as Joan Crawford and Henry Fonda. But now we're up to the 11th set in this series. So we're talking 12 box sets, 39 films in all, and then more to come. And as you can see behind me on both sides here, I've collected all of these things. However, one podcaster recently said he stopped buying them after set number 5 because he thinks the movies are just getting worse and worse. And Kino is kind of capitalizing on the idea that a lot of collectors will buy anything that says Film Noir on it. And that brings us to today's episode. This is the Kazdoy Closet. I'm Kazdoy. That's my closet full of all the stuff that I love. And today, is Kino really scraping the bottom of the Film Noir barrel by releasing so many of these sets? So, I thought we'd go straight to the most recent box set of theirs, which is this one, Film Noir, The Dark Side of Cinema, Volume 11. And we take a look at these films to determine if these really are the bottom of the barrel. Let's check it out. Going in chronological order through that Volume 11 box set, and I'll try to keep this as brief as possible. We're going to look first at A Woman's Vengeance from 1948. 96 minutes long. This is the longest film in this set. Beautiful black and white. This one is about a man who's accused of killing his rich invalid wife so he can marry his young mistress. Charles Boyer plays the man. He was 49 years old at the time, and his mistress was played by the very lovely Anne Blythe, who's supposed to be 18 in the film, and she was actually 20 years old in real life. Still much, much younger than Charles Boyer, so he was really robbing the cradle on this film. And but the standout here is Jessica Tandy. Now, I was only familiar with her performances when she was a much older woman, like in Driving Miss Daisy and Cocoon. But she is very, very good in this. She plays Boyer's best friend in this one. And the other standout is the screenplay, which is by Aldous Huxley, the novelist and writer. He wrote several things, but this is based on a short story of his, actually. And he is probably most well known for his classic dystopian novel, Brave New World. He also wrote a book called The Doors of Perception about his experiences injecting mescaline. And if you're a fan of the group The Doors, that's where they got their name from. So because of the Huxley screenplay, this film is filled with some interesting, very literate dialogue. I'm watching this thinking, what's with the dialogue in this film? A doctor's quoting Shakespeare and the Bible. There's bits of this very quirky, cynical dialogue sprinkled throughout the film, and lots of philosophizing about life and death and love. Very unusual for a film like this. I should also mention the cinematographer was somebody who I've talked about before, Russell Meddy. He worked on classics like Touch of Evil, The Stranger, and Naked Alibi. Those last 2 films I've done episodes on if you want to check them out. And so my rating for A Woman's Vengeance is 3.5 coffee cups out of 5. Why coffee cups? It has a major role to play in somebody who gets poisoned in this film. This is a fun one to watch because it's obvious who the real killer is, and we just watch and wait to see if this killer is going to confess or not. The second film in this set has the great title of I Was a Shoplifter. It's from 1950, 74 minutes long, beautiful black and white. I believe this is the shortest film in the set. This one's about an undercover cop who infiltrates a shoplifting ring which has just coerced a young woman they call her a klepto, to work for them. Scott Brady is our main character, our lead. He's kind of the hunky leading man in this. He's been in many, many films and TV shows, including classics like He Walked by Night and Johnny Guitar, which I've talked about before. A woman I was not familiar with, Andrea King. She was the standout, I think, in this film. She's very good. She plays a character with a great name of Ina Purdue. And the only thing that I've seen her in, or that I recognize at least, was the great film noir Ride the Pink Horse. In a supporting role, Tony Curtis shows up. He shows up in a lot of these old film noirs in supporting roles. He was billed as Anthony Curtis. He plays a character named Pepe, believe it or not. But he's very good in this. He was 25 years old at the time. This one takes place in San Diego, California, and it begins, like some of these noirs begin with a very serious voiceover about how shoplifting is done and statistics about shoplifting and why people do it and stuff like that. And we do get a peek into the shoplifting subculture and how this particular operation works. And in this case, they're bringing some stolen goods to Tijuana to sell them. And meanwhile, there's a whole team of lawmen watching this gang. And the last 15 minutes, they're chasing them. There's like cars chasing the shoplifters, and there's a plane chasing them. And I'm thinking, this is like, seems like such a penny ante operation, like really small time crooks. Why so many lawmen are chasing these people, I really don't know. I mean, they're selling stuff at this auction for like $4 or $5. The furs are more, of course, but it's like, why all the law coming down on these guys, these small-time crooks? I didn't quite understand that, but it was kind of funny still. But my rating for I Was a Shoplifter, I'm going to give this one 3 ocean waves out of 5. Ocean waves because somebody in here gets upset and decides to run into the ocean to commit suicide at one point. The final film in this set is Behind the High Wall. This is from 1956, 85 minutes long, also in black and white, of course. This is about a prison break, and the group of convicts take the warden with them, and their getaway car crashes, and there's a $100,000 in a suitcase that they had hid, and the warden escapes with that money, and he decides to pin it on another guy who was in the car who was actually innocent, and that innocent guy is named Johnny. Finally, somebody named Johnny, because it seems like almost every other noir I watch, there's some character named Johnny in there. Tom Tully plays the warden. Kind of an interesting choice. He is not a leading man type, more of a character actor face. He's fine in the film. But Tom Tully was entertaining the troops in Vietnam with Bob Hope for a USO tour, and he contracted this weird disease and had his leg amputated almost at the hip, and then a lot of related illnesses happened, and he died at the age of 73. Sylvia Sidney plays his wife. She's quite good in this. She's in a wheelchair, and there's a couple of scenes where she's driving a car. I don't know how she's doing that, but they never really show that or anything, or explain that. And then I also want to mention John Gavin plays Johnny. And John Gavin, I'm sure most famous for playing Sam Loomis in Psycho. That's Janet Leigh's boyfriend in Psycho. So looking at the cover and the title, I was ready for a prison film. I'm always ready for a good prison film, right? But it's not really much of a prison film. It's actually the most melodramatic of the 3 films, I think. It's got a downbeat ending, though, and which is basically along the lines of crime doesn't pay. So my rating for Behind the High Wall, I'm going to give this one 3 bags of money out of 5. So those are the 3 films in Volume 11 of this Kino series of Film Noir, The Dark Side of Cinema sets. What do all 3 films have in common? First of all, the picture quality is very good on all 3 of them. You're going to get a square picture, of course. The cover art on all 3 of those Blu-rays is very good. I love the cover art on those. They all have some strong visual noirish moments. You know, they're not consistent throughout the whole film, but they each have their own moments. They're all pretty fast-paced. I was never bored by any of them. They move along. And they have, for the most part, some very good supporting characters, too, which I always like to see in these films. So the bottom line is, you know, these are not classic noir films, but they're very entertaining films. And there's even some surprises along the way in each of these films. You know, the great Eddie Moeller once talked about B movies and saying B movies has a kind of a negative connotation. I've mentioned this before, and you could call these B movies, but that doesn't mean they're bad. That just means they were low budget movies that played on the bottom of a bill back when they had double features in the theaters. I call movies like these cinematic comfort food. You could put them on and you're going to have a good time watching them. You're not going to be bored. You're going to be quite entertained by them. So, you know, do I keep on buying these things? Well, there's 4 more in the series. So, well, am I going to stop at number 11? That would be ridiculous, right? So I might as well just go ahead and get the rest of them, especially once they're on sale for half price during a Kino sale, which happens several times a year. So, by the way, the good news is all of these are on YouTube for free if you want to check them out. I don't know what the quality is, but they're all there for free. So feel free to leave a comment or suggestion down below here. I want to thank the following people who have made left comments since our last episode. Those include Tina, Michael, Martin, John, Matthew, sounds like biblical names, and Asfar. Leave a thumbs up. Don't leave a thumbs down. Subscribe would be great. Share this with your friends and neighbors. We are very close, I think about 20 away from our next goal of 500 subscribers. I thank you so much for subscribing and invite all of you to subscribe. There's no charge to it. I want to welcome our newest subscriber, Peppy, just like that Tony Curtis character. Thank you for subscribing. Also free is Letterboxd. That's where we leave some written reviews of things we've been watching lately. And Mrs. Kazdoy Closet was gone for about a week, so I watched a whole lot of stuff, mostly stuff I'd already seen before that I wanted to revisit. And there's little short reviews of all that. There's a link down below, Letterboxd for the Kazdoy Closet, and that's free. And you can see what else we're looking at. Otherwise, hope you liked this episode, and I'll see you next time.